been just over a year since I first reviewed the DJI Osmo Action 5 Pro when it first came out, and I figured it was time for an honest update. I use this camera a ton to film travel content, and you guys all know that there's a big difference between testing something out for a few weeks or a month versus multiple months. So in this video, I want to go over the 7 features of this camera that have been genuinely working well, and I use them a lot, and the 4 things that haven't been so useful on this camera. And hopefully this helps you figure out if this camera makes sense for your needs. And since I have been filming with it for a full year, I'll be including lots of sample footage as well, so you can see this camera in action. Also, no one is paying me to make this video. I am making it because I genuinely love and use this camera a lot, and I wanted to share my thoughts on it. So if you find this video helpful, please consider using my affiliate links below for your next purchase to help support the channel. And of course, we will be filming this entire video on the Osmo Action 5 Pro. And because I have been filming with it for a full year, I've got lots of sample clips that I'll be including throughout the video. So the first feature of the Osmo Action 5 Pro that I find super useful, I use it all the time, is those 47 gigs of built-in storage. This is the only camera besides my iPhone that has built-in storage, and it's one of those quality of life features that I'm kind of like, every time I reach for another camera that doesn't have it, I'm like, why don't you have built-in storage? It's just so nice. You're going out to film, a short clip, and maybe I don't want to check all my memory cards or clear them. I can just rely on that internal storage. But when I'm doing my travel content, because usually those are longer videos, I use it as backup. Like just in case I do fill up a memory card, happens quite a bit. I know that I can have that built-in storage anytime. The only downsides to built-in storage is that, number one, 47 gigs, it's a decent amount of storage, but it does fill up. So I do wish it was like 128 gigs. That would be great. And also, you do have to remember to offload the footage of your camera. Otherwise, like right now, it's actually full. So in those cases, it's not so helpful. So you do want to remember to offload it from time to time. The next feature that's been great about this camera is the image quality, especially in low light. Now, I will say that the normal color mode on this camera, it does get some heat, and even I think it's not great. Like, I never shoot in, I'm not shooting in it right now, in fact. I pretty much always shoot in D-Log-M. I'll talk more about that normal color quality later and why it's not so great in the weaknesses section of this video, because I do think it's a weakness. But if you are shooting in D-Log-M, it's pretty easy to color grade your footage in post-production, and I use it a lot because it just gives me more dynamic range control. And it also softens the sharpness of the image, which I think is really important whenever a human face is in the shot, especially when I'm vlogging. So I personally use D-Log-M, and I haven't had a problem with the camera. And the Action 5 Pro in particular has a new feature called Color Recovery. It's new as in it's not in any of the other action cameras or DJI action cameras. And when you enable it, it color grades the footage in your preview screen so that when you are shooting a log, you're not looking at this gray, desaturated image like you do on other cameras. And I just find that it helps a lot more for previewing your shot and giving you inspiration, because I don't know about you, but I just don't find it very inspiring to shoot when the preview screen is showing me something that's desaturated. So yeah, those are great. Also, low light quality. Prior to this camera, I pretty much always said don't ever shoot in low light with an action camera because they're not built for that. You should have super low expectations. But I would say that this camera and other cameras like the Insta360 Ace Pro are starting to change that about low light. Now, of course, you do have to be reasonable. You can't shoot in pitch black darkness. You can definitely shoot in more lower light instances especially compared to GoPro. Like, you all know that I was using GoPro for a long, long time. I even have the GoPro Hero 13, their latest model. And I still think that they just have done very little to improve the low light image quality. But on this camera, it even has its own super night mode for helping you shoot in low light. And I've just found that I'm able to shoot in conditions where I normally wouldn't with an action camera in terms of low light. So that has been great. Now, speaking of GoPro, one constant issue that I had with it was constant freezing, crashing. The camera just was not reliable. And I would say that things got a lot better as of like the Hero 12 and the Hero 13. Didn't see those problems as much, but it's just been a historic problem with GoPros. But with DJI, I mean, I've used a lot of their cameras, pretty much all of their action cameras. I've used the Pocket 2, the Pocket 3, and I've never ever experienced any freezing issues. Like, these cameras are very reliable. When you hit record, they keep going until they run out of power or until you tell it to stop. And so this camera has been no exception. It's just been super reliable. It works the way that you expect it to work. Now, this isn't a new feature on the camera, but I just wanted to update you all that the Bluetooth connectivity in terms of connecting your wireless mic to the Action 5 Pro has been so good. Similar to the overall performance of the camera, it's been very reliable. Every time I want to connect a wireless Bluetooth mic, it does it reliably. Like, once I make that connection, I never have to redo it. It just automatically does it. And it's just game-changing that way because you don't have to bother with the receiver, you don't have to fiddle with a cage on the camera. It just makes the overall form factor of it so much more compact, and there are just less things that can break or go wrong with your overall production. And so I pretty much always use a wireless mic when I'm shooting with this camera, especially if I'm vlogging like this or, you know, speaking directly to camera. I use the DJI Mic 2 quite a bit because it has built-in internal recording. It's really nice for doing backup audio. But I also really love the Mic Mini, like I'm using right now, because it's so small and discreet. It's so small that sometimes I misplace it even. But yeah, it's just really, it's a great pair for the Action 5 Pro. But even if I'm not using a wireless mic, I find that the built-in mics on this camera are actually quite good. We did that a lot in Japan, actually, just because traveling with kids, it's so hard to, even a wireless mic, it's hard to break it out sometimes because a lot of times the kids want to pull it off your chest, they want to play with it. And so we relied a lot on the internal mic of the camera in Japan. And I would say that I'm pretty happy with the audio quality, actually. Happier than I expected. And so, yeah, the audio has overall been surprisingly very good on this camera. Another feature of the Action 5 Pro that has been surprisingly really good is the battery life. So the Action 5 did get a brand new battery. It is slightly more powerful compared to older batteries, but one of the nice things is that you don't have to get that brand new battery to actually use it with the Action 5. You can still use older batteries. They're like backwards compatible, which is really, really nice because some other brands make you buy brand new batteries every time a new one comes out. But anyway, for our trip to Japan, I brought so many spares. I brought like 3 spare batteries and even like a battery bank. Like, I just thought I was going to constantly be needing to charge this camera on the go. And yet I could go all day filming. I didn't film all day. I'd film for maybe like 2 to 3 hours total in the whole day. And I'd still, like, I would never come close to depleting the battery on this camera. Next up is the overall build quality and waterproofing. So the Action 5 did get a little enhancement in terms of how deep you can go with it compared to previous DJI action cameras. But, you know, admittedly, I don't really use this camera to do hardcore action with it. I'm usually out doing these kinds of videos, talking directly to camera, or traveling with it. And yet, I can still appreciate those rugged features. You know, this camera can survive going out in a torrential downpour. It can survive if I drop it, or if someone else drops it. And, you know, I can even go for a swim with it. And I would say that this ruggedness is the #1 reason why I tend to reach for the Action 5 Pro as opposed to the DJI Pocket 3. I mean, I still have the Pocket 3 and I still use it in certain situations. But for a majority of the filming that I'm doing, especially when I'm traveling, the Action 5 just suits my needs better. I mean, the image quality is about as good in a lot of situations, but that ruggedness, like, I can hand the camera to my kids, my 4-year-old or even my 12-month-old, and I can let them film with it. And I really like doing that, to see things from their perspective, and that is something I would never do with the Pocket 3.
They're bicycles. I know bicycles because they're all my favorites. I didn't want to get a new one because that new one can make me scared.
I also appreciate that because this camera is waterproofed, I can go out for a swim right now if I wanted to and not have to switch cameras. I can do it all with the same camera. That obviously does have its downsides in that if something does happen to the camera, like if it falls in the water and I'm not able to retrieve it, that would mean that, all of my vlog content is gone. So that could be a downside. You could also see it as an upside in that all the content's on one camera, so I don't have to worry about keeping track of yet another camera. And it's just one less thing that I have to keep track of when I'm traveling. And yeah, to me, that matters the most at this point of my life anyway. So I've gone over pretty much all of the positive points of this camera, or the main ones anyway. But like every camera, no one is perfect, and this camera does have some drawbacks or things that I don't like so much. The first one I already touched upon earlier, but let's expand on it, and that is the normal color mode. This is the color mode that is default. It's like baked into the camera. It supposedly got a firmware update. I will actually do a dedicated video on that. I have not even tested it yet, to be honest, because I'm always shooting in D-Log. But the normal color mode, it's weirdly oversaturated, and it looks HDR, even though supposedly HDR is not on, or you don't have any toggles over it. And so it is a downside, I would say, because the majority of people want to use the camera like that. They don't want to be shooting in D-Log and color grading, and I totally understand that perspective. But yeah, I am curious about the firmware update. I'll leave a link to that video whenever I do that update. The other feature I'm finding a little unsatisfactory in this camera is horizon balancing. So, I have it on right now. So if I shift the camera, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm actually doing that right now. I'm like turning it. And so I just find that it's not as good as opposed to like the GoPro. Like to me, the GoPro with its, I forgot the name of it now. It's been so long since I've used it. The horizon balancing feature in the GoPro, whatever it's called. I just find it a lot more superior. I think that it works more reliably and a little bit better than DJI does. But, still, I think it's room for improvement, I will say. It's a feature that's there, but I think it could be better on this camera. Along those lines, there's also the quick start feature of this camera, which I always enable in every camera that I use. And so that basically means that I can bypass hitting the power button, waiting for the camera to turn on, and then having to hit the record button. If you have this enabled, you can go ahead and just hit the record button, and that automatically wakes the camera up and it starts recording. And I just find it that, if the camera has been off for a period of time, like overnight, if I start that quick start mode first thing in the morning, that it's a bit laggy. It like takes a little while to wake up. And so after that initial lag, it's very quick and responsive. But that first time that you use it, it's not so quick. So I do think that could also be improved. It could be a little bit snappier the first time you use it. And finally, this isn't really a downside necessarily, but the Action 5 Pro has a new mode. It's like called subject tracking mode, and it's actually really cool. It allows you to plant the camera, and you can like frame a subject, and the camera will actually like follow you to a limit. It won't do like a 360 tracking like a gimbal can, but it gives you the illusion that you are using a gimbal, which is so cool. And now that I talk about it more, I wish that I remembered that the feature was in the camera, because that's the downside, I would say, is that I just forget that feature is even there, and I don't ever use it. But I really should use it more often now that I'm talking about it. All right, I switched over to a normal color mode to close out this video, but if you can't already tell, 1 year later, I still love the Action 5, despite some of the flaws and things that I think could be fixed. I think they're rather minor, like compared to the good of this camera. I use it so much every time I travel. It's definitely replaced my GoPro. This channel originally started because I would review GoPros. I was really into them, and they've been kind of letting me down over the past few years. And I think DJI has done a really great job with the Action 5 Pro. I have no idea if the Action 6 is coming anytime soon, but if it does, then you guys know that I will be reviewing it. I'll do that first look, settings guide, comparisons, and of course I'll do the long-term review as well. So stay tuned and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.